Even the Texans, who never stopped the run, didn't think it was possible to give Derrick Henry 2 bills without the threat of a Titans pass game. But credit Henry and the Titans. This offense is so lifeless that I don't see how it can be fruitful going forward unless it's still in absolute form. And he entered the week with an average of 4.0 per carry, almost a yard away from his previous career rate. But there's no denying that she looks great on Sunday. Advertising. Like DJ Moore, the QB change was the perfect potion for Terry McLaurin, who looks like the player we thought we had drafted. It looks like Christian McCaffrey will get Panthers-level volume for the 49ers, making him the RB1. Christian McCaffrey is the first player since LaDainian Tomlinson in 2005 to have a TD pass, TD rush, and TD pick in the same game. First player to have 30 passing yards, 30 rushing yards, and 30 receiving yards in a game since himself in 2018. pic.twitter.com/HLeNP for 3 ESPN stats and info October 30, 2022. Brandon Aiyuk caught the TD pass from McCaffrey and George Kittle scored, but Aiyuk and Kittle made 9 combined touches to 26 for McCaffrey. I was going to trade Deebo Samuel when he was healthy again. Matthew Stafford doesn't look right to me. The news is that it could impact Kupp's productivity going forward. Kupp is still scoring 20 points per game in the last 3 weeks. However, this is about 19% lower than last year. Tyler Lockett could have had an even bigger day without a few inaccuracies. Lockett is now a low-end WR2, a high-end WR3. It looks like Travis Etienne is clearly a Bell nerd and won't be used wisely, as last week's touch count suggested. Now it needs to rise to the number 1 RB's level. I can't sit here any longer and make fun of how it looks when it averages over 6 feet per carry. At this point, I have to respect the statistics. Courtland Sutton started out as a clear number 1 receiver, but hasn't played much in weeks. He has a TD in the season. In London, he was passed by Jerry Jeudy and Greg Dulcich for goals. I think Dulcich is the bigger story. He has 12 catches of 182 yards and a TD in his 3 games. This is definitely in the top 12 in the position. It's a start now. Advertising. Finally, something out of Kyle Pitts. You can't cut such a talent. Now I feel the same about Drake London. Yes, Marcus Mariota is terrible, but Pitts or London can still be productive every week. Caleb Huntley looks much better as a runner than Tyler Allgeier, but offers nothing as a receiver. Huntley averages 4.6 points per tote after his effective 8th week. Allgeier now sits at 3.9. But both are pretty much the same as RB3s. I guess we could call Dante Foreman a success story after an Achilles tear. PJ Walker managed to get the ball down the field, especially after TD's hit against Moore, which tied in the closing seconds of the game. Moore is back to being a WR2. You have to connect the troubles he had at the beginning of the season directly to Baker Mayfield. Terrace Marshall is also worth collecting with 9 targets at 87 yards. For the first time in a while, Dak Prescott used his legs on a run designed for a tank destroyer. Given how electric Pollard looks against the Bears, it's hard to see a way for Ezekiel Elliott to get his job back from Tony Pollard, but rest assured he will. A bit like Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery, Herbert is clearly better, but the Bears can't stomach Montgomery for some reason. Justin Fields is easily a starting fantasy QB, who has scored 18 points per game in the last 3 weeks. You have to love the way the Dolphins essentially direct all their passing play to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. The two teamed up for 20 catches and 294 yards, about 2/3 of the team's total passing production. Tua Tagovailoa is solid, but who wouldn't be with these two guns? Waddle is the perfect complement to Hill, given his ability to dominate the shorter layers of the court and chase the catch. Advertising. DeAndre Swift should now be downgraded to an RB3. He saved the day with a TD, but Jamal Williams gave him a 13-10 lead, 33 for 76 yards, and has the goal line job. Williams is an RB2. Dalvin Cook has really been rolling since week 2, averaging 18.7 PPR points per game. remember that the problem is the worries over your shoulder. But he's caught. DeAndre Hopkins' market share over PED suspension is stunning. 13 goals for 159 yards, and one more TD in Week 8. Kupp is among the top buyers, with Justin Jefferson and Stephon Diggs. Definitely beats Davante Adams. I have no idea what to do about the Raiders. The Saints' defense struggled to allow 10 TDs during the first 7 weeks with just 1 pick and a passer rating of nearly 100. Adams had 3 yards on 5 goals. Derek Carr should have stayed put. I thought Josh Jacobs was very strong offensively, but after a game like this, you should reconsider your records. I also wrote on Friday that Alvin Kamara will find the finish zone at the rate he expects, given the Saints' propensity to get the ball into the red zone. But I never expected 3 points in Week 8. Andy Dalton was declared the starter for the remainder of the season, presumably fueling Kamara in the last game. The Jets froze Elijah Moore, and as a result I expect Moore to be traded before Tuesday's line. Zach Wilson sucked but included Garrett Wilson. Wilson is now back in the circle of trust. The Jets don't have a running game outside of Breece Hall, so maybe they'll let Wilson hit 40 passes a week, turnovers be damned. Wilson doesn't seem to know that he can run forward. It just runs backwards. This was the last chance for the Jets here, and Wilson didn't set his feet up for throwing, or just a 15-yard run. Instead, he threw an omission. Ramondre Stevenson will be selected in the first round of the redraft. He had 8 goals and a total of 143 yards. A.J. Brown is clearly Philly Alpha WR. But I think you still need to run Devonta Smith there because you never know when it's going to be a Smith game, and he can make big games. Smith is more of a flex 10 game. Miles Sanders has 5 tank destroyers in 7 games, at 12 TD speed. It also averages 4.9 and 1,367 fast yards per carry. We won't be talking about Najee Harris's speed, as this is a family column.